Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. November 9th, 2017.
What really happened to Senator Rand Paul? I'm going to get to this in just a few minutes. But first, a big reminder. Tomorrow, as you know, is Veterans Day. As we always do here on WRKO, and especially we at the Kuhner Report, we're going to be holding a special radio marathon to benefit our incredible disabled veterans. We're going to be partnering this year with Disabled American Veterans. We will be on from noon until 3. We'll be interviewing vets, disabled vets, obviously trying to raise money for them to give them all the benefits that they deserve and really need. I will also be on during Howie's show, not during his actual show, but at the top and the bottom of the hour for 3 to 4 minutes to continue to keep our pledge drive going. And then at 7 o'clock, when Howie ends his show, I will be on for 1 full hour, a special live from the Seaport Hotel to continue our radio marathon. So please, Kuhner Country, listen tomorrow and give. They were there for us. We now need to be there for them. Okay, before I get to the big story regarding Senator Rand Paul, there is another story that I would be remiss if I did not at least touch on, and it shows to me the ultimate in liberal hypocrisy. Because what has been the point of the last hour? The very same liberals who go on about the war on women, go on about protecting or women's rights or defending women's rights, the very same liberals who excoriated Trump for the alleged Billy Bush tape with their pea hats and their ridiculous protests and marches. And yet here you have prominent liberal after prominent liberal, whether it be in Hollywood, whether it be in the elite media, whether it be in the Democratic Party, literally assaulting women, harassing women, and outright raping women. And so, as I said, people from glass houses shouldn't be throwing stones. Well, now listen to this story. What is the clarion call of the Democratic Party, and in particular, the progressive left of the Democratic Party? And I'm thinking now of Bernie, the Bernie Sanders wing, Elizabeth Warren, and frankly, much of the moonbats here in Massachusetts. It is the 1% versus the 99%. Class warfare. Demonize the rich, demonize the billionaires, demonize the wealthy, and make it seem that wealth is bad, and wealth is evil, and wealth is corrupting. This is their mantra non-stop. Even though they're hypocrites. I don't want to go into it again, even though Elizabeth Warren is part of the 1%. So if wealth is so bad, why is she worth north of $15 million? If wealth is so evil, why does she live in a mansion in Cambridge? If wealth is so evil, and especially big business and the banks that she keeps railing on against, why did she make millions of dollars shilling for them when she was a lawyer, lining her pockets with their money? Okay, but let that go. Let that go. There is now a stunning new story out from the Financial Times. It's, by the way, a liberal paper. It's a financial paper, but it's a liberal paper. Listen now to this. The 3 richest people in America: Bill Gates, Microsoft; Jeff Bezos, Amazon; Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway, own as much wealth as the bottom half of the entire U.S. population. 160 million Americans. In other words, the bottom 50% of the entire American nation. All of America, 50%. All of America, 50% of it. The bottom half. 160 million people. These 3 individuals, these 3 men alone, have amassed more wealth than the entire 50% of the bottom half of America. They are sitting on a combined $248.5 billion. Let's not quibble. Let's round it off. $250 billion. $250 billion. Three men. If you want to know the specifics, the richest is Bill Gates, as I said, Microsoft, $89 billion. Amazon's Bezos, Amazon's Bezos, $81.5 billion. Let's just say $82 billion. Warren Buffett, number 3, $78 billion. Now, you know who's number 4? Mark Zuckerberg, $71 billion. And you know who's right up there? Google. Now, what do all these men have in common? Here is the heart of the matter. Gates, big liberal. Bezos, big liberal. Warren Buffett, big lib. Mark Zuckerberg, big lib. Google, whoa, they fire conservatives just for being a conservative. Literally. You're a conservative employee at Google, you have conservative thoughts, you're fired, you're out. So I want you to think about this. The top of the 1% are all Democrats, and they are all liberals. By the way, they're all globalists as well, but let that go. Now, the question is this, and this is now the ultimate in liberal hypocrisy. This is an irrefutable point. It's checkmate, and they know it. Which is why, by the way, they want to drive me off the air, but let that go, okay? Thanks to you, they're not going to succeed. If the 1% are so evil, if the 1% are so bad, why doesn't Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or the Moonbats in Massachusetts, I don't know, take Maura Healey, I can give you anyway, Ed Markey, just take your pick. Take your pick. How come they don't demonize Bezos? How come they don't demonize Bill Gates? How come they don't go after Zuckerberg? How come they don't go after Warren Buffett? You know why? Because they line their campaign coffers. In fact, Elizabeth Warren never has a bad word to say about Amazon, about Microsoft, about Berkshire Hathaway, about Google, or about Facebook. Why not? They are la creme de la creme. They are the ultimate of the 1%. So if you hate the 1%, allegedly, so much, why don't you go after them? You phony, you fraud, you. And the biggest way to go after them, because everyone's going on about Trump's tax cut plan. Oh, it's skilted to the wealthy. Oh, it's skewed to the 1%. Yada, 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 yada. There's a very simple way. And I, as a constitutionalist, as a populist, as a conservative, here to me is very simple. Break them up. Amazon is a de facto trust. Amazon is a de facto monopoly. By the way, Facebook is a de facto monopoly. Google is a de facto monopoly. Microsoft is a de facto monopoly. They have essentially rigged and they essentially control and dominate the market through unfair practices. And the great trust buster was Theodore Roosevelt. And these are the modern day robber barons. That's what these men are. They are the modern day, take Standard Oil. And so, just like we broke up Standard Oil, which by the way, you know, it's oil, but oil is important. But what's more important? Software in everybody's computer? That's the lifeblood of our society. Amazon, Google, Facebook, that's the source of all of our information. And yet not one liberal or leftist is calling for antitrust legislation to break up these huge corporate behemoths. Not one. Jeff Kuhner is, but they're not. So if Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or the progressive left really care about sticking it to the 1%, You know what they would do? They would say, you know what? It's true. You've become a modern day trust. And it's time now for some trust busting. Break them up into smaller pieces. They're too big. They're de facto monopolies. And yet you will not hear Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders or you name it. I don't care. Take your pick. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, the Boston Globe. You will not hear any single one of them say it is time to rein them in and break them up and impose antitrust legislation upon them. And that shows you the utter shameless hypocrisy. They don't care about the 1%. You know why? Because they're in bed with the 1%. Because Elizabeth Warren and the Democratic Party are neck deep in money from Gates, from Bezos, who, by the way, owns the Washington Post, but let that go, from Zuckerberg, from Buffett, from Google, from all of them. From all of them. You phony, you fraud, you. They are way too big. They are modern-day trusts. They are modern-day robber barons. They are modern-day monopolies. And it is time to break them up. Impose antitrust legislation and bring power back to the people. Now, a man who does support antitrust laws and imposing antitrust legislation on these huge corporate monsters, on these massive modern-day robber barons, is a man who truly reveres the Constitution, and that's Rand Paul. And whatever you think about Rand Paul, he is one of the most principled conservatives, one of the most principled defenders of the Constitution in the Senate. If there's one rap against Rand Paul, he may be too principled, because they say he should compromise more. According now to the liberal media, you want to talk about sheer propaganda. They now keep claiming again and again, we don't know the motive for why Rene Boucher, one of his neighbors, ran down the hill and attacked Rand Paul. And they keep telling us it's because of a quote-unquote altercation. Those are their words. And a landscaping dispute. Now the neighbors of Rand Paul have said enough is enough. And so what is now happening is the media is being caught in another despicable lie. Rand Paul has now released a statement saying that he now has 6 broken ribs and excessive fluid in his lungs. According now to witnesses, neighbors who saw what happened, they said there was no altercation, there was no argument. Rand Paul was mowing his lawn. His lawn, they say, is immaculate. They wish they could keep their lawn as prim and proper as Rand Paul does. He was wearing earplugs. He was mowing the lawn and picking up weeds. And Rene Boucher ran down the street and literally blindsided him. Tackled him from the back with such force and such ferocity that they thought it snapped Rand Paul's back. Rand Paul then crashed to the ground and Rene Boucher started to wail on him, punch after punch after punch. And then the neighbors came to break it up and they called the police. And so the neighbors are speaking out saying, Rand Paul never said a word to this guy. There was no argument over landscaping because Rand Paul's property was freaking immaculate. And so notice, when another prominent conservative is attacked, suddenly the media says, I don't know the motive. I don't know. So you go on Rene Boucher's Facebook page. Look what you find out about Rene Boucher. Big supporter of Bernie Sanders. Hates conservatives. Hates Republicans. In fact, is a rabid part of the Never Trump resistance movement. In fact, says that he hates Trump so much, quote unquote, somebody should fry Trump's gonads. He cannot stand Rand Paul. He cannot stand his politics. This was a politically motivated attack. This was another attack of liberal terrorism. This was, again, the militant, violent left attacking conservatives because they're conservatives. It had nothing to do with how high his grass was. It had nothing to do with landscaping. There was no verbal altercation. Since when is a guy mowing his lawn, minding his own business, who gets hit from behind? How is this an altercation? I said this to Brittany earlier. I said, Brittany, to me an altercation is two guys shooting their mouths off and then the fists start flying. So you got one guy who's just mowing his lawn, minding his own business, and he gets smashed from the back, and then the guy's wailing on him, and suddenly now they were both having an argument? The media is lying and covering it up. You know why? Because liberal terrorism is now becoming almost as dangerous here in America as Islamic terrorism. Rand Paul is now another victim of the militant, violent left. 127 here on the great WRKO. Okay, let me just put a bow on this thing with Rand Paul. Think about this. A guy is mowing his lawn. He is assaulted from the back by a rabid left-wing never-Trumper. 6 broken ribs. By the grace of God, none of those ribs punctured his lungs or his heart, could have killed him. He's got massive fluids all across his lungs. It's going to take him months to recover. He could have been killed. And the attacker, Rene Boucher, is released from jail the next morning on $7,500 bond. That's it? That's it? You know, if you attack a conservative, no problemo, baby. So, the poll question of the day, sponsored by Bill Kelly Financial Services, is this. Should Rand Paul get a landscaper? Should he just stop mowing his own lawn because of the growing intolerance of left-wing violence, the growing prevalence of left-wing violence? If you believe the answer is yes, it's time for him to get a landscaper. Text the letter A to 680-680. If you believe, like others, look, it's great that he mows his own lawn. He's a humble guy. He should continue to mow his own lawn. Text the letter B to 680-680. You can vote online at WRKO.com. Let me just say this. This is why I have a landscaper. Yeah, it's $30 a week when they come and do my lawn. They come in with those big, what do you call it, those big lawn mowers, like you ride them. They get 2 of those. One guy does the trimming, and like they come in at 10:20, they're out by 10:30. It's just like boom. It's just like wham bam, and they're gone. And that's why I don't mow my own lawn, because I have a couple of crazy neighbors. I know who they are. They can't stand me. They're obsessed with listening to me all day on the air, and then they're yelling and screaming and shouting, and I don't want to end up like Rand Paul. That's why I get a landscaper. Now, I'm just curious, Brittany.
Yeah.
Are you an A or a B? So I'm a big A on this. I think Rand Paul...
Of course you are, you wimp.
I mean, I can't give him any other advice. I'd be a hypocrite. I get a landscaper. I think he should get a landscaper.
I say mow his own lawn. You know, he's not your typical senator, Jeff. You know, I guess he's a real man. He's not afraid of his neighbors. I just hope he got a couple of swings in on that guy. I hope he a couple of left jabs to that guy, I hope.
Hold on. What do you mean he's a real man? You're saying I'm not a real man?
You're a wimp if you're afraid of your neighbors, Jeff. You know, you're going to be on the ID channel. Fear thy neighbor.
All right. So, should Rand Paul get a landscaper? I say yes. Brittany says no, because he's a real man and I'm not. Okay. We're going to have a lot more, I promise. First, let's go to Evan Heidenrich in the newsroom. 136 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, it's time for the WRKO box office to open. Be the 6th caller right now to 617-266-6868 to win a pair of passes for the Museum of Science. That's the 6th caller right now 617-266-6868, and you can win a pair of passes for the Museum of Science. Or you can just go on EBT. If you go on EBT, they're free as well. So take your pick. Call 617-266-6868. We'll give you a couple of passes. If it's too much for you to make that call, just go on EBT. Go on welfare. And by the way, it's not just the Museum of Science. A lot of museums are free. Okay, 617-266-6868. Brittany, I don't know if this is close or not. I haven't had a chance to look at the poll results, but Rand Paul, been assaulted. Rene Boucher, apparently $7,500 bail. That was it. It seems to me that's a little bit light, frankly, for, almost killing a guy, but let that go. Should Rand Paul get a landscaper? That's what I do. That's why I don't get, beaten up by my neighbors. If you believe the answer is yes, text the letter A to 680-680, or if you're with Brittany, Jeff, be a real man and mow your own lawn. Text the letter, in other words, no. Text the letter B to 680-680. As always, you can vote online at WRKO.com. Brittany, are they with me or are they with you?
They're with me, obviously. 77% no, 23% yes.
Really?
Yeah, you are really, really outnumbered.
So it's like 70-30. I mean, they're really against me on this one.
They really are.
Well, I mean, let me just ask the audience this, okay? Imagine now I don't do my own landscaping. I don't get a landscaper. I do my own landscaping. I do my own mowing. There I am mowing the lawn like Rand Paul, although I don't know why he uses earplugs, because when I used to cut the grass, it's loud, but to me, I would never block my ears. You want to know what's going on. You know what I'm saying, Brittany? I want to be able to hear my surroundings. That's why I don't think he even heard him running, because he had his earplugs on. But let that go. I'm mowing the lawn, Brittany. I'm minding my own business. And then, remember I told you about that one of the crazy neighbors that listens to my show for 3 hours and then is yelling and screaming at my kids afterwards? Remember I told you about him?
Yes, you told me about him.
Okay.
Yep.
This guy charges me from the back, breaks 6 of my ribs, lung fluid everywhere, a black eye, I'm beaten black and blue. I can't do the show for weeks or months. You see what I'm saying? That's why I need a landscaper.
I think you need a guard dog and a nice shotgun, Jeff, and I think you'll be okay.
Well, it's going to change in about Ashton's 7. I'm going to wait about 4 or 5 years. I'm going to have
4 or 5 years for a dog?
No. 4 or 5 years, he's going to start doing the lawn. I started when I was 11 or 12. My dad had me cut the grass when I was 12 years old or 11 years old. So, Ashton's 7.
So you're going to let him get assaulted, Jeff?
No, I'll watch him and stand guard. You know what I mean?
Oh, boy.
617-266. By the way, have you ever mowed the lawn?
Are you kidding me?
No, your dad does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No way.
What do you mean, like no way?
I got the motorized one. We get to sit on it. I would do that, like a John Deere.
Oh, that's cool. No,
I would do that.
No, that's expensive though. No, that I'd love. That's fun. But the actual pushing a lawnmower, you've never done that? No.
No.
Now, your dad, does he do his own lawn, or you guys get a landscaper?
He does his own lawn.
Okay.
Don't park on his grass, or there'll be hell to pay.
617-266-6868. Bob in Stoneham. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, Jeff. This is something I just don't understand. He viciously assaulted a U.S. senator. That should be a felony. He hurt him. He attacked him. He beat him. That should be a felony, not a fourth-degree misdemeanor with $7,500 bail. I don't care if it's liberal, conservative. I don't care if it's Dick Durbin, Nancy Pelosi, whoever it is. You assault a senator or a congressman or a member of a cabinet or the president, that's a felony, and there is no bail. I don't understand that.
Well, Bob, I agree with you, but even more than that, you don't have to be a senator or a congressman or a member of the cabinet. Bob, if I did that to you, just imagine you're mowing your lawn. I put you in the hospital, for no reason. I attack you. I break 6 of your ribs.
That's assault and battery.
That's assault and battery.
Crime.
I mean, how the hell do I get out of jail the next day? You're right, on a 4th-class misdemeanor and a $7,500 bail, and, blank you.
I don't understand. So somebody could go running across the White House lawn, tackle Trump, beat the crap out of him. Is it a 4th-degree misdemeanor?
I guess so, if you live in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Wow.
And Bob, I don't know what else to tell you. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, see, that's what I love about Rand Paul. He's very earnest. He's very humble. He's very real. And you know what's really disgusting is the liberal media. They don't want to obviously point out that this was a liberal, left-wing motivated attack. So they're trying to drum up that there was a landscaping dispute. NBC this morning actually went out and said, Rand Paul's lawn is messy. It's dirty, it's filthy, it's messy. So the neighbors, I kid you not, the neighbors are now so disgusted by how the mainstream media is trying to portray this guy's lawn. I swear. Listen to them. Listen to this, okay? This is neighbor Robert Warner, according now to Paul Bedard in the Washington Examiner. The Paul's landscaping looks just like everyone else's in River Green. Wish I could get him to cut my lawn. That's how good he was cutting the lawn. Another one. The stories of a quote-unquote landscaping dispute or a dispute of any sort between Rand Paul and Rene Boucher are erroneous and unfounded, said neighbor Travis Creed. He went on to say speculation regarding Boucher's motive has led to the unfair characterization of the Pauls and their home. The Pauls are and always have been great neighbors and friends. They take pride in their property and maintain it accordingly. Rand, in fact, they say they always see him maintaining or mowing the lawn. They go, he's like a I don't know, it's one of his hobbies, I guess, is to mow the lawn and, rip out the weeds. And I personally find it boring as hell, but, that's just me. Rand has enjoyed working on and maintaining his lawn for as long as I have known him. Now, I could go on. The story just goes on, neighbor after neighbor after neighbor. So, and then I know he takes care of his lawn. You know why? I didn't know this. Rena Mamquist. She is now the current president. He lives in a homeowners association, the River Green Homeowners Association. And she says, no, his lawn is immaculate. I mean, every time we go there, it's perfectly taken care of. I used to have a homeowners association when I was living in Maryland. Let me tell you, a bigger bunch of fascist goose steppers you will never find in your life. I said this to my wonderful wife, Grace. We can move wherever you want to move. You can get whatever house you want. I don't care. The kids want to live in an apartment, a townhome, single family home. I just want you and the kids to be happy. But over my dead body, am I ever going to live in a homeowners association again? These people are insane. Like, they go around with their little measuring tape. I'm not kidding. And they look at the lawn. Is it cut the right length? Is it too high? Is it too low? The hedges. I'm saying, no, the hedges, literally, they're going, it's a quarter too high. It's a quarter inch too high. You got to trim it a little bit more. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, really, are you kidding me? So, the fact that he lives in a homeowners association, now I know the media stories are complete BS. With those lawn fascists, if 1 week you don't cut your grass, notices, letters, phone calls, oh my God, you think it's the crime of the century. You think you'd have bodies buried in his backyard.
Maybe Rand Paul should take Donald Trump's advice and just build a wall.
You can't do that with the homeowners association. I swear. No, does
it live like a gated community pretty much?
Well, I wouldn't say it's gated, but I know it because ours wasn't gated. But how do I say this? The homeowners association wants you to maintain your home to a certain level that will preserve the resale value of the house. And you pay fees to these guys. I'm not kidding. and they help with, like, keeping the community clean. I would never live in one of those. It was a nightmare when I lived there in Maryland. No, you can't build a wall. Anything you do, you need their approval. You want to put a Trump, a for Trump sign on your lawn, you need their approval. You need to put a flag, you need their approval. You want to put roses, you need their approval. Flowers, a flower garden, you need their approval. Like, Brittany, it's insane, the rules and regulations. And then the guys with the measuring tape, they go around house to house. They love that. And then knock on your door. I'm sorry, I just measured your hedge. You actually cut it 3/4 of an inch too low. Well, what do you want me to do now? If it's too low, it's too low. What do you want me to do? What do you think I am? Jesus? I can just make this thing rise up on its own? But that's what you deal with a homeowners association. So when they're saying that Rand Paul's lawn was messy, that is total and complete bull, you know what. Gary in Woburn. Go ahead, Gary.
Yes, hi. How you doing, bud? Here's the deal with this, Jeff. Rand Paul is not a troublemaker. You could tell when he was running for president. To me, he's closer to being a pacifist than anything else. I think he's a...
What happened? He was a pacifist. I think he's, and then we just lost him. Okay, all right. Maybe his call just dropped on his own. That wasn't our end. Doug in Central Mass. Go ahead, Doug.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Real good. One thing I learned at Fort Bragg was you always carry a real good knife in your back, like an Arkansas toothpick. Maybe you should get a German Shepherd and a good old Browning high power with a gravity drop and 2 extra clips on the other side.
Doug, I got to tell you, I'm starting to agree with you, my friend, because it's really getting out of control out there. And so what I'm going to start to do now is I may get myself a dog. The kids want a dog anyway, so I'll have a nice guard dog. And, maybe do the grass with Ashton, because that landscaper's killing me anyway. $30 a week. It's outrageous.
I do my own lawn, and the German Shepherds are excellent dogs.
I was thinking more of a lab, to be honest. Yep. But
Black lab.
But I was thinking more of a lab. I think I'm going to go with a lab, Doug.
Chocolate or black are great.
That's the only way to go. I got to go with a lab. The kids.
I would think you'd get something a little more ferocious if you want a guard dog,
well,
Jeff.
No,
those things will lick your face off, not bite your face off.
But they'll bark. See, that's the point.
Not really.
They don't? But they're big, too, right? So what does a neighbor know? He sees a big dog. Maybe he'll bark.
Everyone knows a lab. They're forget about it.
It'll, scare him off. I just need a couple of barks so I don't get hit in the back like Rand Paul. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a nice dog because, honestly, $120 a month, that's not peanuts. So I'm going to do that, get a dog, and then I basically got to wait out Ashton. Basically let him give him 4 or 5 years, and then I'll have him do the lawn. And then I can stand guard with the dog. See what I'm saying? Me and Spike will watch Ashton's back.
You're going to name a lab Spike?
Or what's another really good dog name?
Tank.
Butch.
Or Butch.
Butch and I will be watching over the grass. I'll say Ashton.
I bet you get a girl dog, too. You're not even going to get a boy dog. You're going to get a girl dog.
Well, if you get a boy dog, you got to, neuter him, right?
You have to do it to both.
Oh, okay. So what's the difference then?
I would think, if you're looking for a guard dog, Jeff, you'd want to get a male.
Well, who barks louder?
The male.
Okay, I'll get a male. I just want a dog that barks. That'll scare him off. That's it. 617-266-6868. More with your calls. Next.
How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is
I'm thinking of getting a dog. We're paying landscapers, and it's fine, because I don't want to end up like Rand Paul, but it's busting the bank. The kids want a dog. I figure I got to start mowing my own lawn again, but I don't want to end up like Rand Paul. I don't want some crazy moonbat on my street, tackling me from the back, breaking my ribs, fluid all over my lungs, my eyes busted up, black eyes everywhere. Listen, I don't need to spend a couple of weeks in the hospital. So I'm thinking maybe getting a black lab. It's a big dog. The kids will love a lab. And maybe it'll bark a little bit. I just need some warning. I just need a dog that will bark. So when I'm mowing the lawn, because I don't wear earplugs like Rand Paul. So, the dog will go ruff, 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 just warn me, and I look around like, oh, son of a gun. There he is again. Now he's trying to tackle me. And then whatever, I can fend him off. 617-266-6868. Brittany's laughing in the booth. Like you fend him off.
Yeah, that's literally what I just said out loud. Like you fend somebody off? Yeah, okay.
Look at this. Look at the abuse I got to take. John in Danvers. Go ahead, John.
Hey, thanks for putting me to the top of the list. I appreciate it.
Go ahead, John.
In the back of my car right now, I have 2 black labs. I have a black lab and a border collie lab mix, the most lovable dogs you'd ever meet. When I met my wife for the first time at her home after we dated, I stepped in the door and that black lab would not let me near her. They are great guard dogs and protectors, and the border collie lab is smart and protective. We had an Obama supporter at the door trying to convince my wife to vote. My wife said, "I'm going to let the dogs out." She reached for the dog. Boom! The Obama supporters ran away. They were going to eat him.
So, anyway, John, if Rand Paul had a nice big black lab, near him when he was mowing the lawn, and that crazy moonbat was charging down the hill, that lab would have been barking and probably would have saved Rand Paul.
Probably. It depends on whether he knew the neighbor before as a friendly person. I mean, if they know the person to be friendly and they come in, it's a different story. But if they don't know who you are, they are the most protective dogs on the planet.
Great.
And they're smart as all can be.
Okay. Yeah, no.
We have one as our dog down at the shop, a 6-year-old lab. It's smarter than most of our customers.
That's why I'm getting a lab then, John. I mean, you almost sold me. Thank you. Thank you for that call. And just so that people know, this guy, Rene Boucher, they didn't speak for 17 years. He's an anesthesiologist, by the way. The guy's loaded. That's another thing. So I don't know if they're going lenient on him because of his politics or because he's a prominent doctor. But whatever it is, don't tell me beating a guy senseless is a 4th-degree misdemeanor and $7,500 bail. That's no way. Absolutely no way. Steve in Boston. I've got maybe a minute here, Steve. Go.
Thank you, Jeff. Jeff, listen, I listen to your show. I get a lot of advice from your show, but you're complaining because it's $30 a week to mow the lawn.
Yes.
So you're going to get a dog that's going to cost you $50, $60, or $70 a week to eat, and then you're going to have to pay Ashton $150 to mow the lawn. I don't get it, Jeff. You're going backwards here. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
Well, see, I'm trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone because the kids want a dog. So I figure let me get a dog for them and maybe a dog for me, and maybe I can at least start cutting my own lawn. But that's just me.
It's good exercise, too.
Will we become a sanctuary state? Next.
You. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 2 o'clock.